smell another horseman.
War sells, baby. And I'm selling to the President of the US of A.
You up for a tour of the White House?
And we're on to the White House. I've got a lot of guns. This doesn't look much like the White House to me though. Unless I've missed a bit of the White House. It's not very white, for example. So are those helicopters just dropping mines, or what's going on here? And why?
Ooh, that's tough.
I'll see you in hell!
Yeah, we've done Breach, so the next movie is Airstrike. I think a 2018 movie with Bruce in. This one's a bit weird. Apparently Mel Gibson was, I think, the art director on it, which, you know, the Mel Gibson, like, what the hell? According to Wikipedia anyway. I'm not sure if they got that disastrously wrong. Essentially, it's like a World War II Chinese propaganda movie. Or, let me rephrase that. It's a modern day propaganda movie. Or like, pro-nation movie. It's not... It's a bit like Top Gun or For America or Navy SEALs. Is that a pro-America movie? You know, one of those war movies where like the country fighting the war is always the good guys and it's not very realistic. There is very patriotic sort of thing. It's that, but for like modern day communist China, which is a bit weird because like the setting is World War II. Like it's the fight the Chinese nationalists made to, or had to fight to protect their country from the Japanese, with some American help, like equipment and supervision, I think, like instructors, etc. The usual sort of thing in wars. Where you get, or modern wars where you get foreign assistance. But like it's a propaganda movie for modern day or pro-nation. What is the word for that? I used to call them propaganda movies. It's not really correct though, because like it's not a literal propaganda movie, but it's just like pro that country. I don't know if there's a special term for it. But anyway, it's pro-Chinese. I swear that's the dog noise from Silent Hill 3. But it's based around the fight the Chinese nationalists had or endured to beat back the Japanese, which is a bit weird because like the communists then went on to fight the nationalists, so it's a movie about the people they defeated to then rule the country, fighting off foreign invaders, but it's still treated as like their story, the communist story. But then I guess that's true of like any regime, isn't it, or any changing a national regime. Like I'm sure there are French movies that are nationalist about the successes of the France when it was a monarchy, or even like Napoleon. Even though France is a republic now.
You want some? Oh, you want some too?
This doesn't look much like the Monarchs, I would say.
Ah, hey, good.
Oops.
You want some?
Oh. But then I guess you could say the same about like the French. Well, I sound like I'm picking on France here, but I couldn't really think of any like UK examples because like we still have royalty. We've not really changed. Well, we have changed the way the country. Oh god, we have changed the way our system of governance works. We've gone from
Strap one
like
on,
absolute
time
monarchy
jam.
to just having a constitutional monarchy, is it? Where it's just like the monarch is essentially a figurehead, and we're a democracy. Though that is questionable at times,
Lock and load.
but it's not like we've fundamentally changed
Ooh, that funk.
our system. Oh god, our system of governance. We've just expanded it and democratized it. Whereas like going from being
Lock and load.
the going from an ideology like that of the Republic of China to, in inverted commas, communism. Just seems like a much bigger step, and the only comparison, or like the nearest comparison that springs to mind, is just about France. Oh, for God's sake. It's like about how France used to be a monarchy, and now how it's
Strap one on. It's time to
democracy.
jam.
Jesus. Because that whole, like, the animosity between the French and the British, that hasn't decreased because France is now a democracy rather than a monarchy. I mean, it has decreased, but you know what I mean? Like, it's still a thing. It wasn't like as soon as the monarchy went away, British people and French people suddenly became best friends. I guess it's sort of like that.
That's gotta. Can't we just be friends? No, we can't.
But yeah, to undigress as such, essentially, Airstrike is about.
Blah, blah, blah,
I think is it Fight for Shanghai and Nanjing? Basically, the Japanese attacks on like some of the most populated bits of China, and the fight back, or the defense, the Chinese tried to put up with some I don't want to say assistance because like that makes it sound as though they had troops there, but like
I'll see you in hell.
they had material assistance and guidance from the Americans, I think. I think they had Shermans and Jeeps and stuff that the Americans had built and given over to them. Wait, where are we going?
get along?
Wow, that was not obvious at all that you could shoot this. Like, seriously, what? Why would I think that? But yeah, essentially it's about like that fight. I think one part of the story is about how some refugees are escaping from the city, or one of the cities. And then the other bit is the insert for Bruce Willis, where this group of Chinese fighter pilots. Oh god, what is that?
Lock and load.
This group of Chinese fighter pilots, headed by Bruce Willis, are trying to fight off the Japanese Air Force. And I think there's only like 2-3 American actors. Bruce Willis being one. I think Adrian Brody's another. Which is very random. But they're sort of like shoehorned in, ridiculously so, into this like basically Chinese story about the heroic battle to fight off the invaders.
Lock and load.
And essentially I'm pretty sure, like, or at least the vibe I get is that all the actors were speaking their own languages, and then it's later been dubbed into English. It's like it feels really obvious that Bruce has no idea what the essentially it's him and a bunch of like Chinese actors. They're all supposed to be pilots. He's supposed to be like the advisor and teaching them how to like fight back against the Japanese. But in the few scenes he is in, he's only in a few, really. Oh. So he feels really shoehorned in. And that's annoying. What the hell? Anyway, the few scenes he feels really shoehorned in. And it essentially feels like they probably weren't speaking English when their scenes were filmed. Like, they were speaking Chinese and he was speaking English, and then like he was dubbed over in Chinese for the domestic market for China, and then they were dubbed over into English for the international market. But it just seems horribly forced, all of it. Like, why is Bruce in this movie? Why is Adrian Brody in this movie? I mean, the obvious answer is because they're there to sell it to international markets. You know, they're the familiar face that'll make somebody go, oh, I might watch that then, when they're on Netflix or whatever, and trying to decide what to watch for the night.
Strap one on. It's time to jam.
But other than the few scenes they're both in, or the few scenes each of them is in, I should say, like Adrian Brody and Bruce Willis, I think there's maybe another actor or two. Like, other than the few scenes they're in, otherwise it just feels like a standard, like, nationalist film. Or sort of propaganda film for the nation. You know, if you're seeing, is it Wolf Warrior or something? That's like an action movie, but it's also very like pro-China. Like the Chinese guys, the Chinese army guys are the good guys. They can't do any wrong, sort of thing. Which you get with American films as well, obviously. Like, well, any big war film. You know, or mostly the older war films. The 80s war films were a lot darker and a lot more realistic and cynical, aren't they? But you know what I mean. The pro-America, like something you could see Charlton Heston in, or I forget his name now, but you know, there were loads of, like, in the 50s and 60s, there were loads of like World War II movies that were just pro-American, and like in later years you got movies that were also pro-American and about war and weren't very realistic when you think about it. It's similar in that way. There's been a few more, like it's becoming more and more of a thing, at least that's visible to international markets with Chinese film. So it's one of those films, but then also Bruce Willis and Adrian Brody are weirdly shoehorned into it, and it just feels so weird. It's a good watch though, just hilariously so.